Good day. Can you guys hear me well? You can write in the chat. Perfect. Okay, let's wait for a minute or two before we get started. And to prepare for the class, you just need water and a quiet space. That's it. We don't need much else. And later, throughout the class, we will do a meditation to walk with fears. The class will be around 60 to 90 minutes. Let's see. It may be shorter. I will try to keep it as short as possible while still giving as much as possible. And the class will be recorded, so if anyone needs to go throughout the class, then I can send the recording. Okay. For this class, what I'm going to do is turn off my video, and my recommendation for everyone is to sit straight and close your eyes. It will be much easier to feel what's happening because when our eyes are closed, we remove a lot of our stimulus, and it becomes much easier to feel through a meditative space what is happening, how does it connect with you, how does it resonate, um, if it does or it does not. And you get to feel on a much better level than when you're looking around. It's very easy to get distracted throughout the class. So I'll have my camera off. And during the meditation, I will turn it on. And today we actually have a special guest who will be joining us, who will share her story about how she healed her depression and much more in 1 month by working with me. And I'm going to talk a lot about how did that happen and how can that be universally applied to any of our wishes, any of our goals, anything that we want to heal and work through. So it'll be very interesting, and we'll really have a very powerful space today. Working on fears. This is the number one topic that I've been working with for the last 8 years with my teacher, Dasha Kabalova. And it's a topic that is so intricate, and at the same time, it's something that happens to all of us. We all have our fears, we all have our limitations. And I want to talk about how do we go past it? How do we recognize them? And to learn how they affect us, and then how to begin the process to move away from it. And so today we'll talk about that, and I hope it resonates with you and it's something that is able to give you something useful at the end. Okay, come sitting up straight and close your eyes. And the first thing we want to do is simply allow our face and our body to relax. And try to focus on your breath, making it very long and deep. When you inhale, allow your belly to expand. And when you exhale, let your belly deflate. When you are completely still on a physical level, it becomes very easy, or much easier at least, to feel what is happening in your mind and your body, where you hold the most tension, and also at the same time, what you can easily do to remedy that or to awaken something else, awaken more energy, have more stability, have more focus. And in the highest yoga, what we do is as we are physically very still, we begin to focus on our breath. We allow our mind to be in the background and we don't give it so much attention. We can easily go into a space then to really feel and understand what's happening at this moment. Because our body, our mind, is continuously moving and changing from our state, from what we want. It's always in a continuous flow of change. And to really feel what's happening now allows us to also see what we can do going forward in this moment. Focus on the breath. Keep your eyes closed. And now we'll do a very interesting task. Keep your eyes closed. You don't need to open them. Just keep them closed. Keep your body very relaxed and still. And we'll do a very interesting task here. I want you to say your name out loud, but don't say it yet. And before you say it, be sure to be very still. And then say your name out loud, and then continue to be very still, and then observe if any sensations in your body changes. And now say your name out loud and be very still and feel if any sensations in your body, any physical sensations change in your body. And continue to be still and continue to observe what's happening in your physical body. And for now, don't analyze if there was any change or if there was not. Just continue to feel. Okay, now you can write in the chat if any sensations changed when you said your name. You can write yes or no. No, yes, no. Okay, perfect. Here it doesn't matter if we felt or we didn't feel anything by saying it. It's very interesting because we have a expectation of needing to feel constantly what's happening or to know what's happening all the time. And sometimes we have no idea what to do or what is right, what is wrong. And in the highest yoga, we have this training for teachers and for healers where we don't try to make up anything. We simply feel. We don't need to invent that we felt something. And it's one of the most difficult things that we train because, especially when we're working with our clients, when they come to us, it's almost as if they're expecting that we must feel something for them. And sometimes we don't feel anything. It doesn't mean anything is good or bad. It's just there's no change or there's nothing at that moment. And here it applies to a lot of things as well, where we have an expectation to always know immediately or to always be right immediately. And for us, it's very um, strange and also fear-inducing to not be certain or have clarity all the time. Do you feel this? Do you agree? It's terrifying to not know all the time, what do I do? What do I want? But here it's really interesting because when we start to accept what is happening as it is, and we allow whatever is happening in our state, in our mind, in our body, it also gives us a lot of freedom because now we don't limit ourselves to what we need to be feeling, what we need to be doing, what we need to have. And it removes a lot of internal anxiety when we accept whatever state we feel, which is quite contradictory because we've been taught that we need to always feel good, we need to always feel a certain way, we need to always be a certain person, a certain thing. And so it's very difficult for us to go away from the image or the idea of what we need to be. But here we want to allow that space just a little, even if it's just for this class, where we don't have this huge expectation of what we need to feel and what needs to be done and what is good and what is bad. We simply begin to explore ourselves. We simply begin to explore our sensations. In the highest yoga, we learn that there's no wrong sensations. Nothing is ever wrong within us. And even when we're meditating, a lot of people have this expectation that we're meditating to become better, to become a more positive, more wonderful person. But in reality, we don't do that at all. We don't change who we are. We simply begin to heal a wound that we have, or to expand on something that we really want to strengthen and we want more of in our life. And I had this very interesting consultation with a client who felt like every time she was taking any steps to work with her traumas and her goals, it always felt like a punishment. And it was very interesting because I resonated with that a lot, where meditation often felt like a punishment, where I have to sit, I have to do this posture, this breath, and I have to do many things in my life, and it always felt like a punishment. Why wasn't it just easy for me? Why didn't it just come to me? And when I continued to practice, when I continued to learn about the highest yoga, I started to recognize that it wasn't just with meditation, but I felt it in many areas of my life. Whenever I had to do anything related to work, money, setting boundaries, asking for what I want, communicating with my partner, it all felt like a deep sensation of punishment, where because I'm struggling with it, because it induces anxiety and many other emotions in me, it always felt like everything I have to do, it just feels like a punishment. And it was very difficult because I didn't want to meditate, which is a very weird thing for a yoga teacher to say, but it's true. I didn't want to meditate. It wasn't a state of bliss for me. And it wasn't that I wanted to have discipline and meditate every single day and always invest my time, my money, my energy into trainings. It wasn't a desire to do that. But I started to recognize that it was also a reflection of how I really felt about many things in my life, where working out, eating healthy felt like a punishment. And it was so strange because I didn't ever see that. Even though it was always there, perhaps I saw it and I never was able to truly acknowledge it. And as I continued to practice, as I continued to meditate every day, I had to really face this this monster within me, this feeling of punishment. And it was always so strange because I never knew, am I really punishing myself every day by meditating? Or is this something that's really healing me? And for a very long time, I was meditating from a place of punishment. Like I'm really bad. I suffer with anxiety and depression and never being able to set boundaries, never being able to ask for what I want. And at my job, when I realized I didn't want to work there anymore, I continued to be in that job for 10 months and I couldn't even quit myself. My parents had to step in and quit for me. And so I always felt that I have to meditate because I am so bad. I suffer with so much things and I struggle with so many things that if I meditate, perhaps not only will I get rid of it, but I will become a better person, a stronger person. And so I continued to punish myself for a very long time with meditations. And then I met my teacher, Dasha Kabalova, who's been training the teachers on the highest level of Kundalini Yoga. And she was learning from the master for over 25 years. And everything she did, it felt also again like a contradictory teaching because so much of it was about expansion and moving out of your comfort zone. And for me, I never wanted, many people know or they will talk about when they succeed or when they finally reach a big goal that they always knew they wanted to grow, they wanted to go out of their comfort zone, that they wanted to become a businesswoman, that they wanted to start their own business. I never had that. I never knew that this is really what I wanted or that I want to face my fears. I was the very opposite, where I wanted to pretend it was never there. And I never wanted to face any situations in my life. Because to me, stress, anxiety, challenge, it meant beyond just a feeling of anxiety, but it would cripple me and it would induce a sensation of a panic attack. And often it would clamp up so fast where I would get a migraine, I would have chronic pains in my shoulder that no painkiller, no natural doctor, no meditations would work on. So for me, I've never known that I wanted to go out of my comfort zone, that I wanted to grow. That was never my dream. And here I had my teacher who was pushing me to do so. And again, it always felt like a deep sensation of punishment, of anxiety. And I felt often that it wasn't connecting with me. I don't want to meditate. I don't want to sit. I don't want to work on my goals or my wishes. I just want things to be resolved by themselves. I just don't want any problems in my life. And that was when during the first few months of working with my teacher and doing meditations every day that she recommended, that I started to realize that this was my big block, that this was my deep subconscious block that projected into this sensation of never wanting to learn, never wanting to grow, never wanting to change, and just having this internal desire that everything should be fixed by its own. But as I continued, I started to realize that I didn't want this anymore. I didn't want to punish myself constantly. And I wanted to change that because it wasn't just with meditation, but it was with everything in my life. But it just showed up very easily with meditation in that sense where I always felt like a punishment. And so I internally began to meditate for a very different reason. I decided that I didn't want to do this because I hated myself and I felt so bad and because everything is a struggle, but simply because I didn't want to be in a state of constant anxiety. And I wanted some room for peace inside of me because it felt like there was never any quiet. It was constant worry about every little thing, what I'm saying or what someone else has said. When my boss messages me, I would get so stressed immediately. And so for me, I decided that the first thing is as I'm meditating or as I am committing to something healthier, happier for myself, it's not going to be from a place of punishment, but to recognize that I want something different for myself. And the first 3 months, my teacher had me work with fears and healing my brain, which in connection also works with hormonal system and also your nervous system. And as I began to do it, I not only was I recognizing that everything for me felt like a punishment, but I also started to feel less and less anxious day by day. It just became almost like inside of me, the state of acceptance where I'm not doing this for punishment, but just something for me to relieve my anxiety and to give myself a chance to have something new. It began to give me deep strength, a deep sense of inner strength, which was strange because I always had this expectation that you have to be rid of your anxiety to feel at peace, that you have to be perfect in order to be at peace. And it's also something that goes towards every goal and every wish, where it's like you have to have multiple things in place before you can start to work with your goals or your wishes, whether it's a financial goal or a relationship goal or a health goal, that many things have to come into place before it can happen. And for me, it was very difficult to recognize that you don't need to have alignment in anything. It's a personal choice in that moment where you decide, I want change, and then you start. Because there's never a right time to start. And I read a very interesting quote, which was so true, which is you will never feel ready. You will never feel ready to change or to do something or to take a very big step. But as I began to heal my brain, everything became clearer and clearer to me where why I'm doing a certain thing, what do I want to reach, what do I want to change in my life, and also recognizing that everything has to be done, not has to be done, everything, but we need to start to do it from a place of conscious self-love, not from a form of punishment. In that moment, as I was healing my brain, there were a few things that started to change, which was my state. Because everything that I'm talking about now, these were such basic changes in my life where I was less anxious. I recognized I was doing everything out of a place of punishment. But it took me a few months as I was doing it to recognize that the main thing that began to change was my state. And that was what allowed me to begin the process of thinking about my goals and my wishes. Here, it's really interesting because many people they come into yoga and meditation and they have expectation, especially when they are working with prosperity, that you do a prosperity meditation and then immediately prosperity comes into your life where money begins to drop into your lap, the sky is raining money, or all of a sudden people are reaching out to you to give you opportunities. We have this almost unconscious expectation, especially with prosperity and people who come into yoga who want to work with money or prosperity, where they're hoping things will happen automatically or magically, a miracle will happen. You can write yes or no if this is something that connects with you, or if you also had a similar expectation at any point where you meditate and then things should change immediately and everything will be resolved immediately. And that was an expectation I had, not just for like a few months, but for the first 14 years of practicing Kundalini Yoga, because every teacher I met, when they talked about prosperity, it was like, do this mantra, do this meditation, and money, prosperity will come into your life. And nothing changed in my life ever. I never got any prosperity opportunities like that. No money ever fell into my lap. And my jobs were always, though I always picked the worst jobs with the worst bosses, worst income. And so I was doing all these meditations for prosperity and nothing was changing in my life. And I kept having this internal expectation, things should change. Why is things not changing? And then I would get more and more neurotic with it. It was just, you know, God doesn't want me to have money. The universe is not ready to give me money or prosperity. Nobody understands me. I'm all alone. Maybe it's not for me. And so started to have more and more neuroses and more thoughts, negative thoughts that I gave more and more importance to because things were not changing automatically in my life. They weren't falling into my lap, even though I was meditating from 1 to 5 hours a day every single day. And I was like, why is nothing changing? When I met my teacher, she had a very different approach to prosperity. Probably because she went to business school in Russia. That was the biggest business school. She started her own company, her own institute. And so she had a very different approach on how to create prosperity in your life while using yoga and meditation. And that was the first few things that I began to learn. The first thing that needed to be changed within me was my state. Because I had this expectation everything should change by itself. You meditate, things should just come and fall into your lap. And for her, she had a very different approach, learning from the master of Sun Sign, where you meditate and then you take action, very clear, definitive action to make your wishes come true. And that was a quite a very different approach. And it was not an approach I liked. In fact, I hated it and I thought it's not for me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to take any steps or actions to make my wishes come true because it was not even something in my mind. It felt that it would ever be possible, that if I take certain steps, it will result in a positive outcome. I never ever thought it would. And for me, that was the biggest block where everything in my mind was impossible. I can't make money, I can't change my job, I can't ask for an income. One of the reasons why it was so difficult is because I had an image of myself of what I can do and what I can't do. And this image, I didn't want to falter from it. I didn't want to change that at all. It was an expectation, an idea that I had been building, that I've been living for many, many years. And I could not see myself ever creating prosperity in my life, being able to ever move past my fears or healing my depression or being able to ever set boundaries, let alone promote myself. It was not something I could ever imagine in myself. But that was the first thing that began to change, where as I recognized why I was doing certain things, why I was not doing certain things, I also started to see that how I limit myself, where I didn't want to give myself the space, even for 30 minutes a day, where I'm not limited to my fears and what I can and can't do. And I didn't want to give myself the space to learn to change, to learn to grow, to learn to become stronger, to be able to make those wishes, those goals come true. That was not something I felt that was important. I never thought that that was the intention or the foundation of meditating. Because for so many years, I learned that you meditate and then things should just come into your life automatically, everything that you want. But then when I began to work with my teacher, I started to recognize that my state determines how everything happens. Because the goals that we have, the wishes that we have, the changes that we want to make in our life, it really depends on how we feel about it and how we see it and how we decide to tackle it. And so in those 3, 4 months that I was working with my brain, the first 3, 4 months, I started to realize that I wanted to have a better job, and I didn't want to stay stuck in this job for so long. And at the same time, I wanted to have another source of income so that eventually I would be able to move to Spain and live with my partner and support myself. And so, for the first time in my life, I started to look at my goals, my wishes, what I wanted to do. And instead of feeling that I can't do it, it's impossible, financially, it's not viable, emotionally, I definitely don't think I'm able to reach it. And at the same time, my parents did not want to support me and they didn't even understand me. And they were criticizing everything I said I wanted to do. So I constantly felt this pressure of loneliness, of being alone with every goal, every wish, feeling rejected, feeling that everything is impossible. And then that's when I realized that this is kind of the essence of why I want to continue practicing the highest yoga, because I recognize that everything in my life was against me being able to fulfill or to even start making my goals, my wishes come true, including myself. I did not see it at all. For me, I didn't see an opportunity. I didn't see how can I do it. And every time I had to take a step, it was always anxiety inducing. It was so difficult, everything. And during those months of working with my brain, I realized that this was the main problem where everything was difficult. Everything, physically, emotionally, financially, was against me. But in that moment, 3, 4 months into working with my brain, doing the meditations recommended by my teacher, I realized that I didn't want this to be my reality forever. Because this was the reality my parents had for themselves. And I could see that even though they were in their 50s, they had the same limitations, the same fears, the same problems, and nothing was changing. And I realized that it would be the same for me. Nothing would ever change because I constantly felt and imposed on myself, with or without my actions, I would impose that nothing will change, everything will be difficult. I didn't want to give myself the room to grow. It was terrifying to me. But in those first 4 months, I started to realize that if I begin to give myself a chance to expand my state, to change my state, to come into a much more balanced state, it will change a lot of things in my life because the actions I will begin to do or take will allow those changes to happen. And in those first 4 months, I started to think about how can I reach my goals? And how can I move to Spain? And how can I financially support myself? It wasn't overnight. My changes, it wasn't overnight. Every single day, I still struggle with the feeling of punishment and constant anxiety. But for the first time in my life, I also had a sense of hope where I felt not that I will succeed for sure, but perhaps if I tried, I can succeed. And I started to take more and more actions. And that was the first time I also decided to go to the gym by myself and I started to eat healthier. I started to learn about new things that would allow me to grow. These are such simple, small things. That's the really interesting thing because we have this idea that to really reach our goals that or to make a big wish happen, we need so much and we need to do these huge, huge, huge steps and impossible steps. And then we need a lot of money. Or we need to example, I want to earn $1 million first night, of my business. We have these expectations with our goals, and then we feel, oh, it's impossible. I can't do it. It's completely out of my reach. But in those moments, I started to realize that even the smallest steps in my life will allow me to move towards my goals, even if it's not overnight. Even though I was terrified, even though everything around me was against it. But As I continued to practice every day, it began to heal my brain, my nervous system, bringing my hormonal system into balance. I started to simply come into more and more balance. And I started to have more and more focus, more and more energy, and a desire to make my wishes come true. And it was terrifying each step of the way, but it didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter anymore because there was a space within me that was opening or that was being created, that was being laid, the foundation that was being laid of stability, where it didn't matter if I failed or not. It was simply having the focus, the desire, and the even the self-love to say, I want to move towards that goal. And it was the very reason, this was the exact state that made me, that would allowed me to really see what can I do to make my wishes, my prosperity goals come true, step by step. And 5 years down the road from doing this, every wish, every goal I ever had, I mean, for my entire life, it came true. And I couldn't believe it. Because in one way, it feels like 5 years is a long time, but on another scale, it's so small. And I'm not saying that everyone or everything will take such a long time. For me, it's just I was terrified the whole time or failing. And so I took really small steps for the first 3, 4 years of my life when I was working with healing my brain. For me, it was already huge steps, but they were, looking back, very small, very, very tiny little increments of steps that allowed me to then move towards being able to deal with more stress, work with bigger goals, really push myself out of my comfort zone. And for me, this was the first topic that I worked with was the brain. And it changed my entire life with the smallest steps where I started to recognize what was harming me, what I wanted to change, and I started to give myself more and more space to allow healthier, happier habits and things into my life. And I started to give myself a chance, even though everything and everyone was against me. And that was one of the reasons I was drawn to the highest yoga so much because often it felt like everything was against me. I never had the money in the beginning. I never had the emotional support from anyone. My partner lived halfway across the world. Everything was so out of my financial capacity that it just felt like everyone and everything is against me. But when I began to heal my brain, it became really clear that this is all just very neurotic thoughts that I was living by for many years, and that I really wanted to believe with my whole heart and chest. I really wanted to make this a reality, even though it was not something of course, it's not something I wanted. It's not that I wanted to suffer. But in a deep subconscious part for us, it feels very normal. It's very normalized where you aren't able to reach your goals and everything is difficult and nobody loves you and the entire universe is against you. You know, especially in yoga and meditation, we have a lot of neurotic teachers where it's like if you are not getting something, it's because God is not with you and the universe is against you and your time is not right, your planets are not aligned. You know, it's very neurotic things that we want to believe because it's easier that way to stay in your fears, in your blocks, in your limitations, because there's no effort that needs to be made. There's no way you will fail if you're doing nothing. There's no way you will be rejected if you're doing nothing. There's no way you'll have to deal with stress by doing nothing. And when we begin to heal our fears, and this is one of the reasons why the highest yoga is very, very difficult, it's not that physically it's so demanding, it's that on an emotional level, it begins to challenge a lot of our fundamental beliefs and our fundamental idea of how we need to live. And it begins to go against that because for most of us, we've always been taught that being limited and where everyone is against you and every business wants to steal from you and every government is out to hurt you, whether or not that is true or not, that's not the point. The point is that we've been made to feel, to learn that this is normal. But working towards having a healthier, happier life, that's strange. That's that's weird. And working towards having a better income, starting your own business, doing multiple things at times, wanting to have higher standards for your partners, for your health, your prosperity, that's a little strange. And it was really, I really saw it because I would meditate every single day. And those first few months that I was working with my teacher, I was still living in Singapore with my family. And just about every day, my parents could never understand. They were like, why are you doing this? And they would get really angry when I wouldn't want to go out because I would have a seminar to do with my teacher. And they would get so angry. They couldn't understand, why am I sitting at home instead of going out, going to a wedding that we were invited to? Um, and instead, I want to sit home and meditate. They couldn't understand that. They couldn't perceive it at all. To them, it was so strange that I was putting so much time and effort and money into healing myself. It was like the weirdest thing. But here, for me, it became really, it wasn't really clear constantly, but slowly by slowly, I just started to feel I don't want to be stuck all the time. And not only do I not want to be stuck, but I would love if I had the ability to speak and to speak up for myself and to promote myself. And I would love if I could start my own business and I could earn money. And I wasn't even thinking a lot of money at that time. I was just thinking two to 300 euros, 500 euros, that would really change my life. And if I could really just little by little have, more beautiful things in my life. I wanted beautiful dresses. It was just little small things that I felt, I want this. I don't want to live constantly where everything is difficult and everything is anxiety inducing and it's out of my reach. Because that was the way I'd seen my parents and all of my aunts, all of my uncles, everyone in my community live that way, where everything they did what was possible. And then anything beyond that was just, don't even think about it. If you want to travel to Europe, which was something I never did as a child, for my parents, it's like, it's impossible. It's way too expensive, and we don't have anyone you can live there with. And so they never had this desire, this wish to make it happen. But then I had this desire and this wish, and I also had a lot of the fears and a lot of the financial restrictions. And so it was always contradictory. It was never aligning. I never had the money, but I had the desire. But then when I began to heal my brain, it became so much clearer and easier to me to recognize if I have this goal, this wish, how do I make it happen? And that takes energy, that takes courage as well, because it is going beyond what you can do at this moment. And that is really the power we have of working with the brain through the highest yoga, where it gives you a lot of clarity, a lot of peace, a lot of stability to make anything happen, to grow beyond that. And as well, it begins to reveal to you individually, what it is you really want from yourself and whether or not you want to grow. Like I was saying in the beginning, I never had the desire or the wish. I never knew that I wanted to work for myself or I wanted to become a businesswoman, that I wanted to do this and this and this. I never knew any of these things. But when I began to heal my brain, it was as if my own soul, my own being, my mind, whatever it was, it began to reveal to me what it is I really am looking for. And I started to create the life that I wanted piece by piece. precisely kind of seeing this is where I want to move, this is the things I don't want. And I started to learn more and more about myself, what it is that I really like. And at the same time, the most interesting for me was also giving myself the room to try new things, to explore different parts of me. And simple things like trying new foods, trying new clothing styles, trying different ways to work, trying different ways to approach certain goals, certain wishes. And that was what gave me a lot of joy, which is something I never thought I would have when I had to deal with any of my goals or my wishes, where I would have a sense of joy in the challenge, in the exploration of, if I try this new dress, will I like it? Will I not like it? For me, it was difficult to even consider liking something else from what I really like. I know I like the color blue, and I know I like this number. I know I like this is the way I like to work. And for me, I recognized that it was very suffocating because it didn't give me the room to learn something else. And even if to just try in that sense where I'm simply trying, I'm not committing to liking it or having to do it a certain way forever. I didn't even want to consider the possibility of trying new things. But slowly by slowly, I started to recognize that there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of peace as well, and a lot of expansion by allowing ourselves to evolve even for a minute, or to change, to be open to something new for a minute. And here or what we call it is the space of shunya in meditative silence. That is shunya, meditative silence, where you are simply allowing many things in yourself and to give just room for new possibilities, for new changes, or for expansion, and to be rid as well of the feeling of anxiety or anything that really holds you back often. And this is what we'll be working with in a couple weeks, where I'll be holding a brain workshop where we will work to heal a lot of the fears, the traumas that we have. And we'll work to rebuild our nervous system so that it becomes easier to deal with stress, easier to follow our dreams, our wishes. And at the same time, we'll work with our hormonal system so that everything is done from a space of balance. And we'll work, my favorite personally, is to work with awakening the brain. In the highest yoga, we have many meditations to awaken our brain, to develop our intuition, to develop anything that we're already good at, and it develops it further. For me, one of the most interesting thing that really opened up when I began to work with my brain was prosperity, where I started to think about how to reach my goals, my wishes. And as I began to do it for myself, I began to get clients for prosperity, even though I wasn't wealthy, even though I was starting teaching very new. I was a novice when it came to working with any goals or wishes. Even though I was really anxious, but it started to draw a lot of people who wanted to work with prosperity. And it became so easy for me to see how anybody could grow in prosperity. And that was something that began to develop purely through the meditations. It was not something that I was born with, that I learned my entire life. In fact, it was the very opposite. And I started to see how to grow in prosperity, how to make money, how to reach your goals. And I started to get clients, even though I simply announced I'm doing consultations. You can come with any topic, but every client came to me for prosperity. And in the first consultations, I remember the first client who came to me for prosperity. I recommended to her precisely what classes, what topics to work with, and give her a personal consultation. And in 2 weeks, she found her dream job. And not only that, she went to the meeting and she negotiated a higher salary. And the most interesting thing was that for the last 2 years before this consultation with me, she could not find a single job. Nobody would even give her an interview. And she'd been let go during COVID, and no companies were hiring that she was looking into. And within 2 weeks, she got her dream job. There were a few things that we did to make this a reality. It wasn't just meditating. We did precisely what steps, what actions you need to take, and then she also recognized when she got to the job that she needed to negotiate a higher salary for what she was doing. And she wrote to me that she had never done that in the past, and normally she would have just been happy to take it, especially because she had been out of her job for over 2 years and nobody was hiring. And so in the past, she would have just taken whatever they'd given her. But in that moment, she recognized because she wasn't held back by her fears that she needed and she could negotiate a higher salary. And then she was hired within 2 days and she started her job 2 weeks after. So within a span of 1 month, a lot changed. Now I'm going to ask my guests to come on, Tanya, if you're here, to share how she healed herself in 1 month. I will ask you to come here. If you're here, Tanya. Let me pin you here. Okay, can you unmute yourself? It's working.
Yes, hello.
Hi, can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi, my name is Tanya. I'm from Germany. I'm living at countryside with my children and my husband, and I think we live very naturally. That's our main interest.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. So I want to share, if you could share a little bit about how you came to me, how you found me, and then what happened, what changed in the first month, because that was what really made the biggest difference in your life.
Mhm. I found you on Instagram,
Mhm.
and I was in a very bad state looking back, um, and I was in hope to find you to help me find a job and to earn money.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
the first time you came to me, it was during one of my live streams that I was holding, and I had offered to do free consultations for anyone who was interested in the live stream. And I did the consultation for you, and the first thing I said was that you were very depressed, that it was as if your body was in a state of constant numbness. And what I found out a few months from you after that is that you didn't know you were depressed or that you were in this state of numbness, which was so interesting because I had no idea. It was not something that you told me, and apparently it was not something that you knew either.
yes, and you told me I'm even afraid to move, and I thought that's on point. Absolutely true. I'm not even able to move.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was such a interesting thing because during consultations, even in classes, I simply go into a meditative state and then I feel what's happening. And yesterday I had a consultation with someone who was speaking in Spanish the entire time. And I had no idea what she was saying, but then I was feeling precisely what was happening and what her blocks were, how to work with her goals, and every single point resonated for her. And it was so interesting because I didn't understand anything. So right now I even have your husband who only speaks German and he comes to me for consultations, for classes, and I don't understand anything, but I pinpoint precisely how to move and it's always accurate.
Yes, yes.
Well, the first recommendation I had for Tanya was to work with healing her throat chakra in a personal consultation. Can you share what it was like going through the workshop? Because it was your first time doing anything like any meditation.
Um, to me, it was absolutely new, but I was open to it, and it was very interesting to me. And the workshop was very helpful. And although I had a lot of fears during these practices, I relaxed more and more. And in the first, it was 2 days, the workshop. And after the first day, I was very anxious and almost got an anxiety attack. And then I wrote to you, and you helped me, gave me a practice, which I did, I don't know, maybe 3 times in this whole time. And it always helped me not feeling this huge fear.
And right after the workshop, I gave you a personal consultation where I selected which meditations to do. Can you share what changed in the first month?
Mhm.
And also
Um,
before, like what was the state before, and then what
mhm,
changed?
mhm. Before, I was laying in bed for hours daily. I had bad relationship, or no relationship, maybe, to my husband. And my children were always fighting and noisy and um, unhappy. I always wore black clothes, and I didn't talk to anyone. I was just by my own and alone and overwhelmed.
Can I ask how long you were in this state for? Was it just a few weeks? How long was this?
I think most of it since childhood.
Since
I,
childhood?
yeah, I
Hmm.
think I was always a lot by myself and held back my emotions and my wishes. And um, I was very good in keeping people on distance.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what changed in the first month?
Mm. Um, I really like my children playing together and talking things out. And I started to wear dresses and talk to teachers without fear, just because it was important to me and for my children to do something. And I started my business, which I always wanted, with natural products. And I got, I don't know, creative and motivated. And I think I had goals which I thought maybe I can reach them. So I tried.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's so interesting because especially when we begin to meditate, or especially when it's new, this is your first time doing any meditation, and then the first time doing it every single day with the personal consultation. And I don't think you really expected anything to change, did you?
Not really. And if so, like you said, huge changes and yeah,
Hmm.
not real changes. Yeah.
Yeah. But in 1 month, everything changed for you. You came out of your depression, you started to dress up beautifully exactly as you wanted, and your children stopped fighting and they started communicating everything. And the interesting thing is that it wasn't that they were meditating. You were the only one meditating. But everyone in your family started to change. Everyone started to come into a state of harmony and balance. Because for us, it's so interesting because we always feel that if no one around us is that in that state or being able to reach something, then it's impossible for us. But we also forget that we can change or be the change that we want. And you were exactly that. You were exactly the change that you wanted to be. And it was also everything for everyone else around you. It was contagious, that sensation of inner peace. It's not something that is found through very simple changes in your state. The fact that your children stopped fighting, everything became easier. This is something, even though they weren't meditating, it's a sign of very deep healing that you were able to influence them just by healing yourself. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I've been through a hard process of crying and sweating and yeah, shivering and yeah,
But here,
and sleeping,
and sleeping.
sleeping.
Yeah, but here it's a really a wonderful thing because when we begin to meditate, our body begins to heal and go through whatever process it needs personally. Example, as you were saying, you started to sleep a lot. That was the very same thing for me, where I started to sleep and I just wanted to keep sleeping. I didn't want to wake up. But for me, this was the way my brain was healing
Mm.
itself a lot. After I would meditate, I would want to sleep. I would sleep and I would wake up and I would feel better. And it was never something I felt. And here, this was just the brain, the nervous system, everything rewiring itself in such an easy way where you want to sleep, which is very difficult for many people. They're like, oh my God, I need to really struggle. And why do I want to sleep? It's like, is there a problem with sleeping? It's like, and it's like they've never really slept properly before. And so when they go into deep sleep, it's very strange to them. And it was very
Mm.
strange to me because I was like, why am I sleeping all the time? But now looking back, I realized it was just my brain doing the work in the easiest way, where I wanted to relax. I wanted to relax more. And then with that, my creativity when I would be awake was more, and I had more inner strength. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story because it's such an incredible thing that it all happened in 1 month. It happened in 1 month. And this is what we're going to be working with in my upcoming workshop, where we'll go through a full 2-day seminar to heal the brain. I will remove the spotlight. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, Tanya.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. In the upcoming workshop, we'll first go through a healing 2-day process where for 2.5 hours per day over the weekend, we will go through meditation after meditation to release our emotional blocks. We will work to renew our nervous system, to bring our entire hormonal system into a place of balance. That will be the first day. In the first day, as we're working with our emotional blocks, which is our fears, our angers, our limitations, any of the traumas, negative experiences we've gone through, we will give our brain the space to heal, to rejuvenate itself. And then the second day, on Sunday, what we'll do is go through a process of activating our brain and to awaken our intuition so that we start to see for in our lives with everything we have going on in this moment, how do we start to change? How do we start to change our life and reach our goals? And the most important here is that we start to see the easier way to do things. We start to see the easier way to do things. Not that it will be completely easy, but right now when we think about I need to earn or I want to earn 2,000 euros in the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. If that's too less, you can increase the price, the amount. But I want to reach a certain amount by a certain point, a short period. our mind immediately denies that it's even possible. It's impossible. I've never done it. It's never been done. I can't do it. I don't have any way to make that a reality. We immediately have this projection where everything is hard. I can't do it. But as we begin to heal the brain and we begin to activate the intuition, we start to see, okay, I have this goal. It's a big goal. How do I reach it? And we start to see for ourselves in our lives, how do we make this goal happen? How do we reach it? How do we change everything that we want? We start to see how do we move and how big of steps we need to take. And at the same time, we start to have the state, the internal state of balance, of inner strength, of focus, of clarity to move forward. And we start to move very consciously towards our goals. In my upcoming workshop, we'll have the main workshop, which will include the first 2 days, where we'll work with fears, emotional blocks, we'll work with nervous system, hormonal system, we'll work with activating our intuition. And then we'll have a VIP program, which will be slightly different, where it will include all of this and an additional seminar. It will include the additional seminar where we work with fears and procrastination. Here we'll work a lot on the VIP seminar with prosperity goals, how to actively move, not slowly or, with doubt, but with pure clarity, pure focus, how to move towards our goals. It can be financial goals, it can be relationship goals, it can be health goals, anything. It can be anything that you want. And in the VIP program, it will also include a personal consultation for me. So I will personally work with you one-on-one privately, and we'll work with anything that you want. It can be health, relationships, or prosperity. So you'll have the VIP program, which has a massive discount, which will include the personal consultation. If you want to join right now, I will put the link. You can sign up for the workshop with a deposit. And this way you lock in the price and you can join us in any of the topics that you want. You can work with purely the normal program, which will include the full workshop, or you can join us in the VIP program where I will personally guide you to work with any of your wishes, any of your goals. And just for today, when you sign up, you will also have a discount on the workshop. Let me just write it here. And this will be removed from your, one second, your workshop, from the final price here. There we go. So for today, for the next 24 hours, when you sign up, you can sign up with a 50 € deposit, and then you will have 10% off both the programs if you want to go for the normal, which is 200 euros right now, or if you want to go for VIP, which is 300. But then you will have 10% discount on both programs if you're interested to join. The workshop will be starting on the 6th and 7th of June. So it will be in 2 weeks. It's not anytime soon. And in this time, if you sign up with the full price, what you will receive is a special meditation that you can start to do every day now. I will send you a meditation that will begin the process of healing the brain. It will begin the process to relieve the stress from the nervous system, to unload the emotional stress, to heal the hormonal system, and to awaken your intuition. This meditation is so, so powerful that by the time you get to the workshop, you'll feel a lot of change, a lot of relief and healing already. And that the workshop will feel like a huge boost. It will create this massive change, and you will be able to really take a lot of steps, a lot of wishes. Now, for this workshop, we have people from Poland, from Switzerland, from Canada, from the US, from London, where else do we have? From Singapore joining us. It's going to be such an incredible space. And right now we have all women joining us, which is such a wonderful thing because, especially for women, we are really taught to stay limited, to be limited, that everything is difficult, everything is out of our reach. And for me, it's such an interesting and such a wonderful thing to be able to teach to women because I never felt in myself that I could do anything, especially in my culture, in the Indian culture. It's always taught to us that women are inferior, that we are weaker, and that we aren't able to do anything, especially with prosperity in business. And it was always taught that all the men, all my brother, everyone, the men in my life would succeed and that they were destined for great, wonderful things, but not me. I was supposed to just grow up and be a housewife and be happy that my husband is taking care of me. But here, when I began to heal my brain, I started to realize how to move past these limitations, these expectations of me, and how I'm supposed to live. And I started to realize what inner strength I have, what powers, what creativity, what abilities I have, and I started to develop them. And it allowed me to then change my life. At the same time, while simultaneously we're working with the main problems of our life, constant anxiety, our fear of rejection, fear of death, fear of failure. We're healing all of those, and simultaneously, we're awakening our gifts, our talents, we're developing them with focus, with energy, and we're moving towards the life that we want. This workshop is working precisely on what we need, precisely the topic of the brain that allows us to very actively change our life, actively recognize how to do so, and it gives us the inner strength to make it happen. Right now, you have 10% off on both the programs, the normal, which will include the 2-day workshop, and the VIP, which will include a personal consultation. Already, the VIP is on a 275 euro discount because personal consultations are normally 250 euros. So here you'll have the full workshop and a personal consultation for if you sign up today at 270 euros. So right now, if you're interested, you can click on the link and you can join us with the deposit, and the remaining can be paid before the workshop, which is in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's do a really quick meditation and then we'll finish the class. So if you want, you can turn on your cameras so I can see you're doing the meditations right. And here we can leave after this class with a really balanced state. Okay, please have some water before we start the meditation. We're very, very dehydrated. And now come sitting up straight and close your eyes. Okay, what we want to do is bring our index and middle finger together like this, and thumb goes over the nail of our ring and pinky like this. And these two fingers are together. Don't let them be spread out like this. We're going to bring it right in front of our shoulder blades. Make sure you're sitting straight. And as we're sitting straight, it's important to push the shoulder blades back a little. We should open up our chest, especially women. We tend to sit like this, especially when we're stressed. We sit like this. But when we open up the energy in our chest. Physically, just this movement itself will make you feel better. So we slightly push the shoulders back, and then palms are facing forward, and not here at the sides, but here. Your fingers should be almost at the level of your face. Almost. If you have long arms, then almost like it. And palms facing forward. Now we need to make a big circle with our lips like this. And we're opening up the jaws. And we need to breathe long and deep through the mouth in a very relaxed breath, not like this. So often people do it like this. You will feel horrible if you do this, okay? You will hyperventilate because your diaphragm is very, very blocked. So if you do this now, you'll feel terrible. It's a very different meditation. We want to do a very relaxed breath like this. You take your time inhaling, and as you're inhaling, you need to inflate your belly, and then we slowly exhale through the mouth. Perfect. It's a very relaxed, deep breath through all of the mouth. It's very important to make a shape of a O. It's not just open mouth, it's a O. Perfect. And now we're going to, if you have glasses, remove your glasses. We're going to open our eyes slightly, 1/10 open, and focus it at the tip of the nose. Like almost as if you're squinting, but very slight, very slight. And you will feel slight discomfort as you do this. When you're looking at the tip of the nose, it is uncomfortable, but it's really, really good. It will release a lot of the deep stress from the subconscious. And now continue. Continue breathing long and deep only through all the mouth. Breathe long and deep. Eyes at the tip of the nose. Even if it's uncomfortable, keep it at the tip of the nose. Don't move at all. We can't move and we meditate. And now eyes at the tip of the nose. Breathe long and deep through all of the mouth. If you feel anxious, you feel bad, it's okay. It's good. Continue to focus on the breath. Doesn't matter what is happening, you focus. It's discipline, it's also bringing focus and clarity. And you are very consciously making yourself relax, even though your mind is going crazy, even though it's strange. You breathe long and deep through all the mouth and don't stop. Keep your eyes at the tip of the nose. Come on, focus, focus. Don't move. Your body should not move at all. At all. Eyes are continuously keep bringing them to focus at the tip of the nose. They may get distracted. You may close your eyes and then slightly open again. And consciously breathe as long and as deep as you can through all of the mouth. Make it as long as you can. Make it as deep as you can. And then push it a little bit further than you think you can. Focus, focus, focus. Breathe long and deep. Breathe long and deep. Breathe into the belly. This is important. Every inhale should go into the belly, and you should expand the belly like a balloon. It should become bigger and bigger the more breath you take in. And exhale, let the breath out slowly, slowly exhale, slowly. Slowly inhale, make it long, long, long. And exhale slowly. Inhale deep, slow, long, deep breaths. Slowly exhale. Keep your eyes at the tip of the nose, 1/10 open. Keep it focused, keep it focused. Perfect. Continue, continue. Now the anxiety is leaving. Now your brain is relaxing. And now the brain is getting more and more oxygen. It's good. Focus, focus. Breathe, breathe long and deep. Focus, focus, focus. Now, don't move. I will play a mantra, and you need to chant the mantra. It's going to be Har. And we move the belly in when we chant. We pull the navel, our belly button in, and go Har, Har. And we chant very softly. I will show you how to do. I will put the mantra on. And we softly chant Har, Har, hold the position. What we'll do now is we will begin to expand our subconscious limitations. And it will allow you to really understand and feel how to expand. And we'll start to release our deep subconscious blocks. Stay in the position, keep breathing. Keep your eyes at the tip of the nose. And now we chant Har softly. Hold the position. Har, 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 Har. Soft, don't chant loud. Har, 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 Har. And listen, perfect. Chant softly, hold the position, keep your eyes focused at the tip of the nose. This is very important part now. This will allow the subconscious to expand.
You have started computer audio share.
Okay, inhale deep through the nose. Hold this position and hold the breath in. Hold, hold, hold. Don't move. Hold the breath. Hold the posture. Now exhale through the mouth like a cannon. Inhale deep through the nose. Hold the breath in. Hold, hold, hold. Exhale like a cannon. Now open your eyes. We need to make claws into our hands like this. Inhale deep. Hold the breath and move your body to the left. Hold the position. And now move to the right. And exhale in the center. And relax. Relax your hands down. Now, the most important part of every meditation, we need to close our eyes and relax. Feel your body, feel your state. Don't move, feel yourself. Feel. Perfect. How do you feel? You can write in the chat. Do you feel better? You feel lighter? Lighter, relax. Lighter. Perfect. Wonderful. Now, for me to end this class, the main thing is we have to have a unmoving, unmoving desire or wish with what we want to do. I want to become healthier. I want to have prosperity. And we need to have so much focus or so much clarity behind it that it doesn't matter how many fears, how much obstacles lay in your path. Doesn't matter that it's physically demanding for you, financially, everything is out of bounds. Nothing matters. Just complete focus and clarity that I want to heal. I want to change. I want whatever it is you want. I want. And for you, this is the point that you need to put in your mind. Everything else doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The fears, the problems, every block, it doesn't matter. Simply that you want, and that's enough. And then you focus on that. How do I make it happen? Right now, how do I make it happen? We will work with this fully. We're working through all the blocks. We'll work through all the imbalances that we have in our nervous system, in our brain, our hormonal system. We'll work with our fears, our anxieties, all of this in my upcoming workshop in Awakening the Superpowers of the Brain. We'll go through a very deep process of healing. The process that took me 5 years to work through and to learn about, and then to apply it, and then to teach it. The entire process I was going through for 5 years, that I will teach it in one seminar. You will see how to change your life, how to really create the changes that you want in the most authentic and the most tangible ways. We're not just meditating just to feel good. We're really meditating to create tangible changes in our state, in our body, in our health, in our finances. And this is what we'll do in Awakening the Superpowers of the Brain. We will work through this in a full seminar. And we'll go through meditation after meditation, all to bring the first full day will be focused on working with our emotional blocks. And then the second day, we'll work with intuition and activating the brain. Then you will really see how easy it becomes for you, because you'll have more and more energy as days after the workshop and after the seminars. You'll see you'll have more energy, more focus. And especially when you go on the VIP program, I will show you precisely how not to slow down, how to keep focus, how to keep clarity, how to keep the state of balance that you want, and how to develop your meditative state so that it becomes easier and lighter. And you will start to see that even with all the problems, even if everyone is against you, nobody supports you, you will be able to succeed. Even if your entire body is against you healing. I have clients who come to me with very serious health issues that they've had for years, for decades, and it's completely healed now. And we will go through this process because our brain is responsible for our health. And so we will go through a space of healing and rejuvenating our entire brain and activating our brain. So many of our health issues will start to reduce, and then they will heal, especially if you go on the VIP. Then we can really work precisely on any health imbalance. And then we will also work on prosperity a lot in the VIP program. VIP program, I made it really, really affordable with a huge discount, because for me, the main thing with everything I do is really that people get the maximum result. It's exactly what I wanted from yoga and meditation, and it's exactly what I learned. It's exactly what I've applied. And now the VIP program will include all of that. So you'll get to go through a very healing process, and we start in 2 weeks. So come and join us. You have 10% off right now on the discounted prices already of the seminars, because normally my workshops are 350 euros. And then VIP would normally be 500 euros. So right now there's a huge discount, and you can go through a process that changed my entire life, and now I will change it for you too. We'll go through an incredible space of healing. And today, if you like the meditation, this is just 1/10, 1/10 or 1/100th of what we'll do in the workshop, in the seminar. Because in the workshop, in the seminar, we'll meditate, meditate, meditate. And each minute, each second of the seminar, you'll be in the same meditative space as me. So I will feel precisely what is happening, what is changing, what to do, how to guide you, how to get to that point of balance, how to get to the point where we can remove and release a huge block, a huge obstacle from our mind, our body. And then things will change in your state. Things will open up in your state. And in this particular workshop, we'll work a lot on prosperity. Health issues will improve, and prosperity, I will show you precisely how to move and get your wishes to come true. And not slowly, but actively, and it should be coming also actively, the wishes and the goals. The problem here is a lot of times when we work with prosperity, we have a lot of fears, we have a lot of limitations, so we see it through those eyes. And then when we heal the brain, we'll see it very differently. We'll see how to make it easier and better and healthier, something that's much more sustainable for us. And then at the same time, we are awakening our own creativity, our own ability to make our own wishes come true. And you'll see things will become lighter. A lot of anxiety will be gone, a lot of stress will be gone, a lot of emotional triggers will be gone. This is the power of the brain. And we go through that in the meditations. We'll go through a very deep, pure healing to work with emotional blocks, to work with negative events. And then we're rebuilding our entire system so that going forward, it supports us with every goal, and we are not easily, we're not easily giving up. It'll take a lot. And it's really interesting because we really feel that because we have so many problems or more problems will come, that it will eventually, we will fail. We will not be able to succeed, that something will take us off the path towards from our goals, our wishes, the life that we want. And here we are developing the ability to have focus and clarity beyond everything that's going on. It's completely priceless because nobody teaches us this. And we're always taught to rely on the economy, on somebody else. And if those things are bad and nobody's supporting you, and if no clients are coming to you, no jobs are hiring, then it means everything has gone to shit and nothing can happen for you. But here we go through a process to recognize how can we prevent problems and disasters in our life? How can we improve our life? How can we go beyond what we think is capable? And how can we reach those? Simultaneously, we are working to heal our lifelong blocks and anxieties and traumas. And then it becomes easier, and we start to have more and more clarity. And most important, we're not punishing ourselves to kind of get to the life that we want. We're doing it from a place of absolute state of pure love, compassion, and that's it. We're not doing it from a place to create more neuroses, more problems, and more traumas for us and more problems. We need to do everything from a space of lightness. And it's really funny because my teacher used to tell me in almost every consultation that I love her Simran. She used to say, oh, Simran, you love doing everything in the most painful, difficult way. And we have to change that. We have to work with it. And then she would have me work with my brain so I could start to see how to do it easier, how to do it lighter. And now we will do the same. I will teach you how to do things lighter, easier, without more problems, more stress into your life. Because when we start to look at our goals right now, we feel it from a place of anxiety. We feel it from a place of restlessness and helplessness and being overwhelmed. But then we meditate, we go through a full process of removing our main triggers, and then we feel lighter. And it's as simple as that. We feel lighter. And we don't know what else is happening, what else is changing. We feel lighter. And then on the VIP, we will go through a full process of how to step by step. I will give you all those practices that my teacher gave me to work on money, on cash flow, on income, on wishes. And then you will, at the same time, how to really actively change your life so that you don't slow down and procrastinate. You don't become lazy with it, and you don't feel uninspired and demotivated, because our mind and our circumstances, they're quite on the opposite side for most of our life. As everyone says, there's ups and downs. And because of the ups, or the downs more like, because of the downs, we lose focus. We lose the energy and the desire to continue with what we want. And here we have to rebuild our system so that even when everything is down, we are focused, we are calm. It's not affecting us. It's not a problem to us. We see clearly what needs to be done and we continue with that. And now we'll do this in this workshop. We'll go through a super process of healing, rejuvenating, of strengthening ourselves, and at the same time, we will remove a lot of the problems we have now. Go and sign up. Don't hesitate, don't worry about it. If you're not sure, then write to me. If you want to make it happen, have a very clear focus, sign up, and then you will see things will change, things will open up. We'll go through the most wonderful process. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tomorrow, we will have another class, and tomorrow I will share with you something I've never shared before about how I met my partner, how I made literally the biggest wish of my life come true. And I will share with you how I did that, how I met the Master Sun of Messiah, how I began everything, the biggest changes in my life, how I did it. And you will love tomorrow's class. Today, if this class was good, tomorrow will be even better. Thank you so much for joining me. Please write reviews, email me, or write to me wherever you have my contact, how you like this class. It's so important to write the review and to really consolidate to your own mind that it was really useful and helpful. And then it will also be very healing for other people because a lot of people want to go through it on the recording. And so when they see their reviews, they will be more inspired to go through it, and then they will also go through an incredible process. So all around, it's a contagious space of prosperity and healing, and it's wonderful. So please write reviews for today's class. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Do come join us tomorrow. It'll be the same time, and hopefully it'll be slightly shorter. Today we went a little bit over the time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.